Hi, this is an informational tutorial movie about subgroups for the beginning of the Guide 3 assignment, the text assignment. I want you to understand what subgroups actually are. Before I actually begin, I want to go into the Illustrator menu here and pull out, although I don't like to do this, I'm going to pull out with the tear-off palette the direct selection tool, because inside the direct selection tool, if you see, there's a tool to the right, which if I hold this down, you can see it's the group select tool. If I let go or go out of that and I hold down the option key, the group selection tool is the option key toggle from the direct selection tool. I have made some squares here, and in the squares I place colors so you can kind of get the feel of what I'm going to do here. Over in the layer palette, I opened up or uncollapsed the layer so you can see that these are all paths within the layer. I want you to watch as I group these, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to group the blue ones together, the pinky orange ones together, then I'm going to group the green ones, the yellow ones, and the purple ones. Then I'm going to make a group of all of them, because what I'm actually going to define this as is all 5 of these small groups will be referred to as subgroups. The large group is called the parent group, and I want you to see in the layer palette what happens when I do that. In order to group something in Illustrator, you don't have to you don't have to encompass the whole marquee. You don't have to do this to actually grab those items. All you have to do is just marquee a small box around them like this. I made them with large strokes, and the selection color is blue so you can see what I have selected. I'm going to go Command G to group these, and you can see right here, if I double click this, I'm going to call this blue, just so you see that there's my blue group. I'm going to do the same thing with all 5 of them, the rest of them. So I marquee these 2, I go Command G, and you can see over here that I'm going to double click this and I'm going to call this orange. I'm now going to marquee this, hit Command G, go over here and call it green. Now let me do the same thing to the yellow one, Command G, double click it, call it yellow. And then I'll do the same thing to the purple one, go like this, Command G, double click it in here, rename it as purple. Now I'll save my file, which I want to have you do all the time. Now I'm going to deselect this. I'm now going to do one of 2 things. And it's a pretty interesting process, because I'm actually going to show you it 2 different ways. All I would have to do is to group 2 of these together and then drop these 3 subgroups into that group, and they would become a subgroup of the main group. I could do that simply by making my first parent group, and then I would have this new word over here in the layer palette called group, which I would rename as main group. And then I could just drop these into that main group and they would become property, or they would become subgroups of it. But I'll do it the easy way, actually, is I'll marquee every single one here. I could have shift clicked all these circles here, and I'm just going to go Command G to group. I now have, as you can see, they moved over to the right more to become property of this group here, which I'm going to double click and call main group. And that is how you create subgroups. Now, how do you select? Why would I have done that in the first place? Why wouldn't I have just made a grouping out of all of this? Well, what if this wasn't 2 boxes? What if it was 102 boxes? And you would have a hard time selecting 102 things in your file. Illustrator gave you the subgrouping tool, or the group select tool. If you hold down the direct select and the option key and click once on one of the subgroups and click again on that subgroup, you get the rest of the subgroup. As you can see over here in the layer palette now, I have the purple group selected. A 3rd click on it would have now got the entire group. I'll click away and do the same thing with the green group. Watch how 1 click here selects that, 2 clicks selects the subgroup, or 3 clicks selects the whole group. So if I wanted 102 yellow boxes, if I had made 102, I'd click once and twice and I'd have all 102 boxes in 1 clicking. I could have done the same thing over here by opening up the yellow one, selecting one or the other one with the circle over here, or the whole group by selecting the radial button for the yellow group. I just wanted you to have a real understanding as to why we make groups and subgroups, and this could go on and on and on. I'll back off of this and I'll actually marquee the whole thing, which means I have actually selected the entire group. I'll hold Command Option and I'll pull up in the air like this. I have now created two main groups, as you can see in the layer palette over here. Two main groups. I will now shift click both circles for both main groups. I will now go Command G, and now I have inside of here, I have actually a parent group with two subgroups with subgroups within those groups. I mean, you could just keep this going on and on and on. So that's kind of why I did this. What if what you wanted to do, what if what the art director wanted to do was to convert all the strokes of one of the groups into a different color? I'll click one of the groups and I'll go click the stroke and I will convert it into a different color, as you can see, which was a real easy way to make changes or edits in your group. It's a very good organizational tool. Please go on to the guide number 3, part 1.